Good morning. This is Tanetta, your relationship coach here at Speak Your Truth and your bedroom candy boutique consultant. And I want to bring you all the video this morning talking about the history of vibrators actually. So I want to make sure that I brought y'all this video today. Just in case you all did not figure out by now, I'm one that wants to know of course, like the history of things, where things come from. So, of course, I was looking through some information, found an article about, it was back a few years ago, actually. Let me see. Back in 2017, and it was talking about the history of vibrators and where they came from and all those kind of things. So I figured, why not talk about this? Because I know, of course, with bedroom candy, of course, I talk about sex and all these kind of things, and talk about the vibrators that they have and all these kind of things going on. So I definitely want to make sure that I, of course, brought you some information talking about the history of where vibrators come from and where they were created, I guess, from what they know. I guess I put it that way. I know there's all these urban legends and that kind of thing, and some of it we don't really know. I guess I put it that way because I have two conflicting people who created vibrators back in the day, so I don't know which one is which. But like I said, whatever. Like I said, definitely it's still the history of where these kind of things come from and who actually created these things and what the thought and what the mindset was behind them. So let's get started, y'all. The first little thing is talking about an urban legend. Of course, everybody has heard of Cleopatra, one of the Egyptian queens back in the day. It was said that, it's according to this urban legend, that Cleopatra ordered her servants to fill a carved out gourd with bees to stimulate her genitals, with the rhythmic vibrating buzzing inside the base, turning the hollow gourd into a makeshift vibrator. So it said back then she made her own makeshift vibrator. That was centuries ago, y'all. But of course, like I said, that is an urban legend. So let me go ahead and get into the information. But we do know, let me say this, we do know that, of course, throughout history, that, of course, whether this is an urban legend or not, we all know that women have always desired sexual pleasure and sought a means to seek, sought a means to, of course, satisfy themselves. So we do know that. So let me see. Okay, so I have something talking about prehistoric. It says, to start, we've got to go way back to early, before we had batteries, before we had electricity, those type of sex toys. It says that, let me see, the first phallic sex toy like this, well, you all can't see, but it looks like a piece of carved chalk is what it looks like. It said it was a carved phallus made out of chalk. It said it dated nearly back to 28,000 years BC in the Neolithic area is what it says, y'all. So they've been making these things forever, it sounds like. And it says they were first made of silkstone, and many were found in German caves is what it says, y'all. So that is definitely interesting because I had no idea that even existed until I read this article. I'm like, what? Back in the, that's like I said, that is centuries ago, y'all. When the first batteryless and electricless, I guess I put it that way, dildo was found. And that was in the German cave, y'all. So the first, when I read this, the first vibrator says it's credited to physician George Taylor in 1869. The vibrator's original purpose was to relieve symptoms of depression and anxiety in women, known as hysteria. And then I read something else that talked about how back in the late 1800s, how Joseph Granville created the first electric vibrator designed to relieve muscle and aches and pains of men, is what it says. So like I said, I don't know which one of these is the truth, but we know that back in the 1800s, in the mid to late 1800s, that's when folks were trying to, of course, create different ways to relieve aches and pains, according to them, Mr. Granville, for the men, and of course, according to Mr. Taylor, for the women to relieve their symptoms of hysteria is what they claim. So, quote unquote, to put it that way. Documentation of hysteria dates back to the 13th century, but it was Sigmund Freud who relegated the disease strictly to women, is what it said. And we all know the Freudian theories and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully you know something about them, because I know we had to study those back when I was in school in psychology and in social work and stuff like that. Very interesting man, I guess I put it that way. But like I said, before the vibrator first came into play in the 19th century, doctors would simply finger women, and they said finger them, on the operating tables, called a pelvic massage, and send them on their way to relieve their hysteria, y'all. Now that was really interesting because I didn't know that they did that actually. Like I said, this was interesting information to me. I don't know if it's going to be an interesting information to you all, but hopefully you all can, of course, gain something from this, just to know that, like I said, that vibrators and dildos and that kind of thing, they've been in our history for years now, y'all. So it is a common thing. I know some people may be kind of still ashamed, and that's why I'm here to, of course, talk about those things as well, to make sure that you know sex and pleasing yourself and masturbation, all that type of thing is pleasurable for us, y'all. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. Let me see. It says it was exhausting to rub one out manually or finger one manually, so they invented a machine that could take care of the problem. Doctors believed they were treating a female illness and had no idea that what they were really facing was sexual frustration. The most hilarious fact is that vibrators were developed because physicians got tired of giving hand jobs, and they still did not realize that maybe women were getting sexual pleasure out of this, says Wright. Let me see, back in the 1920s, y'all, the vibrator was first introduced into the home as a household appliance, a form of a massager for bodily ailments and beauty aids, is what it says back in the 20s, y'all. The vibrator was only the fifth household appliance to be electrified, powered by a large, unsexy motor. And if y'all can see these pictures, y'all will be like, oh my goodness, that was a vibrator back in the day. But yes, it was. If you all can look at this article or just look up some old pictures of vibrators and dildos and that kind of thing, definitely look it up. And like I said, you'll be amazed at what they look like compared to hundreds of years ago, until now. In 1920s, the vibrators began to appearing in smut films and pornographic magazines. So the jig was up for women who were casually buying back massagers. Because I know they had that kind of back massager, that thing for the longest. I had one of those back in the day too. Flashback to the scene in Sex and the City, where Samantha hits up a sharper image to return her vibrator, and the middle-aged salesman kept insisting it's a neck massager. So we know that, y'all. We all know those bulbous, powerful wands are not made for massaging, other than the clitoris. So let's get real, y'all. So let me see, in the 1930s, y'all, according to Babeland, if you don't know who Babeland is, they also sell sex toys, sex products, sex furniture, that kind of thing as well. It's not just bedroom candy, of course. I know I talk about that a lot, but Babeland, they're actually featured in this article. It said they have a Babeland Museum of Vintage Vibrators, and I had no idea, so I'm going to have to find out where that is so I can get myself there and take some, if they let me, take photos, videos, at least tour it for y'all so y'all can know exactly what it is and where it's at and what's going on with it. It said the period between the first machine vibes of the tail end of the Victorian age to the 1930s was really the golden age of the vibrator history. During this time, lots of innovative models came onto the market, like the Massage Master 2. It has 3 different heads to really work out those store muscles, as you all get what I'm saying. And it comes in a box, y'all, 'cause I'm looking right at it. The 1940s saw the same clunky designs of the vibes that hit the markets in the 1920s and 30s, marketed as massagers because they were loud, rather scary, and looked not unlike a screwdriver. Not exactly the same thing you'd be down to put into your genitals, but like I said, it looked kind of strange and that kind of thing, but it was still a vibrator or massager for the body parts. I guess I put it that way. Let me see, the 1950s. It says, while vibrators saw very few upgrades during this period, the 1952 Niagara Handheld Unit 1 was an interesting advent on the models that already existed, y'all. Unlike the one speed that fits all devices on the market, the Niagara had a button for speed control as opposed to a simple on and off switch. So that's what it sounds like. 1950s is where they first started having the speed control of the vibrators instead of just the on and off. So that's awesome, y'all. I didn't even know that. Let me see. 1960s. You might recognize, it says the vibrator above, of course, is an old rendition of the massage wand that we use today, of course. But with the dawn of the sexual revolution in the 1960s, the vibrator's popularity had a rebirth and a demand among women soared. As women began taking control of their bodies, so too did they begin searching for better toys. The sexual revolution did not see an advent in design, but an amplification in demand. It was the first time women's pleasure was acknowledged by society. And y'all, that was in the 1960s. So that means from the beginning of time until, let me see, this is 2021. So I guess 80 years ago, Our pleasure wasn't even looked at, I guess I put it that way. It was called hysteria. But like I said, 1960s, that's when women start taking power of their bodies back and saying that we demand pleasure as well. That's where it all started from, y'all. I love that. 1970s. The 1970s was the decade in which there were both serious improvements on the market, models like the Niagara units of the 1950s. There was also an invention of what is considered to be the Cadillac of vibrators, the Hitachi magic wand, and it's still sold today, y'all. So that was back in the 1970s. 1980s and 90s, as women started to create their own sex toy companies, and we have a lot of them. Bedroom Candy's, of course, one of those companies that's, of course, owned by a black woman, Miss Candy Burris. They wanted to make products that were appealing to them, rather than scary 7-pound male design, insanely loud vibrating sticks of yesteryear. One of the things they really wanted, a vibrator that was designed to focus on the clitoral stimulation first and foremost. The Fukuku, I think I'm saying that right, one of the very first finger vibes aimed at clitoral stimulation. That was made back in the 1980s and 90s. Oh, that's awesome, y'all. I didn't know that. So the first finger vibes. I don't know if y'all have heard of finger vibes. I think Bedroom Candy has some of those, but they actually slide on your fingers. And you can, of course, they're very small because they, of course, are finger vibes. And they, of course, you can slide them right on your clit and play with your clit and that kind of thing. So that's awesome, y'all. I like that. The 2000s. In the 21st century, sex toys for women started to get a decidedly stylish upgrade, y'all. And we can see that with the Bedroom Candy products, too. Her company began back in 2012. Suddenly, there were toys that were not only aimed to please different parts of the female anatomy, but also tried to appeal to all the different aesthetics, like the super sleek vibrators that we have today. It is the sexual tech revolution, one of the things that bring together sexuality and pleasure with modern technology and minimalist design. So like I said, that was back in the early 2000s, y'all. So let me see, 2010 into now. Even more inspiring is that sex toys are now being created by women. Like I said, Bedroom Candy's creating her own. Miss Candy Burris has a whole catalog. If you all haven't checked it out, I will, of course, put that link down in the comments of this video so that you all can, of course, check out my actual boutique as well. But like I said, this is the time where a lot of women, early 2000s up until now, where a lot of women own sex toy companies. It's not just Bedroom Candy. There's others out there as well, y'all. So keep that in mind. But like I said, women are definitely doing their thing in this industry. Women making vibrators for their own pleasure is a logical step. And this is one. Alexandra Fine, she's the co-owner, the co-founder of Dame Products. It says women pleasure is really something about which women know best. That's right, y'all. There's, of course, we have all types of vibrators now. Of course, you all may have seen in my Bedroom Candy boutique, but there's, of course, some that are a lot of ours are actually USB chargeable, where you don't have to have batteries to use them, all that kind of stuff anymore. We do have a few battery operated toys at Bedroom Candy, but a lot of it, like I said, is USB chargeable, just like your cell phone. And then, of course, they have some that are, of course, ultra quiet, and some that, of course, I'll show you all one on this Sunday called the Candy Kisses. It has, I believe, 6 or 7 different vibration patterns, y'all. So I'll definitely show y'all that one. And it's, of course, very, very compact and it's small, just like a lipstick. And it looks like lipstick, actually. So you cannot tell. But like I said, I'll definitely show y'all that one this Sunday. So like I said, there's definitely a lot more things on the market now that we have for vibrators and things like that for women. And like I said, that was the history of vibrators. Like I said, I definitely want to make sure that I read that to you all. But just to give you all a glimpse into what the vibrators kind of sound like, look like back in the day, and where they came from, who created them, and what's going on with them now. Like I said, back in the day, they were really created for, according to Mr. Granville, it was for men to like relieve aches and pains in the mid to late 1800s. And then there was another one, Mr. Thomas, who created it for curing the hysteria in women, quote unquote. I guess I put it that way. So like I said, now those toys back then were huge, bulky, big, that kind of thing. Like I said, now we have the ultra quiet ones, small ones, better finger vibes, all types of apps that you can buy that, of course, like I said, that works for all types of women. I guess I put it that way as well. And Abigail, thank you for tuning in this morning. And what do you think about those women that say vibrators are so stimulating that they don't feel their men the same anymore? Men no longer please them. I actually haven't met anybody that said that was the case. Usually, if you're getting too attached to your toys, I guess I put it that way, or addicted to your toys, that kind of thing. Usually, what the best practice is to, of course, start slowing down your usage usage of them, I guess I put it that way. We all know that a man cannot act as a vibrator or move that fast and that kind of thing as well. But nobody can replace a man or those who have penises and that kind of thing either. As far as the comfort and of course, the love and the affection and that kind of thing, vibrators don't give us that. They'll give us the feeling temporary, I guess I put it that way. But like I said, definitely the men are still, of course, useful. I guess I can say that. I have a man and he's still definitely very, very useful. But like I said, for those women who are, of course, who are having issues with the vibrator, I guess they're saying that the stimulation don't feel the same as their man is never going to. Of course, there's dildos that don't have the vibration and that kind of thing in them. That may feel closer to your man, but as far as an actual vibrator, no man can vibrate that fast. I guess I put it that way. But like I said, the main thing and the best practice is to cut down the usage if that's the case. And if you have, and if you don't, I guess by using this solo, of course, like I said, you can, of course, become addicted to that feeling and that kind of thing. But of course, using those vibrators with your partner is definitely another thing as well. I use mine with my partner as well. So like I said, you don't have to leave the man out of this process. Of course, the man wants to, I'm sure, well, according to my partner, I guess I put it that way, he can still feel I guess like the vibes and that kind of thing from the vibrators. So you can definitely do that. Do not leave your partner out, ladies, especially if you have a male partner, that kind of thing as well. And it's a bus coming, y'all. It's very loud. But like I said, as far as not feeling all that of a stimulation, and you're getting kind of numb down there, like I said, just cut down the use. That's something very simple to do. You don't have to use it every single day. You can use it once a week or once a month or however you want to do it. I guess I put it that way. But definitely make sure that you're cutting down your usage. If you're starting to feel like you no longer want your man's penis and that kind of thing anymore. But like I said, definitely make sure that you include him in on the action. He want to see you get off as well, I'm pretty sure, and see your pleasure as well. And like I said, with you using it while you all are, of course, having sex and that kind of thing, he can feel those vibes as well. And it says add penis. Yes, there are penis vibrators as well. Bedroom Candy does have some, and I will definitely let you know some of those. Not today, but of course I will let you all know some of those. I just ordered. I got one. Actually, I have to do unboxing, so I'll do that probably on tomorrow. But I have one of those as well that is actually in my box back there, so I'll definitely let you all know that. And you're not saying that there are none at all. Oh, I'm sorry, sis. What did you mean? Because I misunderstood what you meant. If you can write that down there before I get off here, because I got to get going too, to get myself to work. But let me know what you meant. I'm trying to make sure I go back and read. What do you think about those women that say? Oh, I see what. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I see what you. I see it now. You were saying, but to me, it's still the same kind of situation, the same kind of activity, I guess, that they can do as far as lessening their usage of the vibrator. Like I said, I know that sometimes it depends on what size dildo vibrator you're using. If it's way bigger than your man, that kind of thing. And of course, sometimes the vagina does get stretched out, I'll put it that way. If you're using it every single day, all day long, that kind of thing, like I said, you definitely have to cut down your usage. And it says men no longer please them like the vibrators. Yeah, for some, I mean, like I said, for most women who have vibrators and have felt that kind of stimulation, no man can, of course, match that. So, I mean, the main thing is cutting down your usage and, of course, using those vibrators with your man in the bed, I guess I put it that way, so that he can feel them as well and so that you all can, of course, play together and feel those vibes together and that kind of thing. Like I said, just don't leave your man out. Like I said, I haven't met anyone that has happened to thus far. I'm sure there are some ladies out there that has happened to. I just haven't ran into one yet. But like I said, from what I read and from what I've studied and researched, the main thing is to, of course, make sure that you're cutting down your usage, especially if it's getting too much, where where the women are saying that the men no longer please them like their vibrators. That's next to impossible. Men can't really do that, of course, whether they're using their tongue or their penis. But like I said, definitely just cutting down the usage of the vibrators, and of course including your man in on that sex scene with you to make sure that he's feeling those vibes as well. Knowing how to, of course, and then you can actually teach him how to please you as well in that process. Know where to put the vibe and that kind of thing too. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get my butt off here. So I got to get ready for work this morning, y'all. So I want to say thank you, Abigail, for tuning in. And I will go ahead and reply to your comments in the written section once I get off this video, but sometime today as well. So with that, I want to say I hope you all enjoyed the actual the history of the vibrators. Like I said, according to this thing that I read this morning, they were created back in the mid to late 1800s. And of course, there was two men that were deemed to have created them, I guess I put it that way. But now we know that we have all these types of vibrators going on, all these types of dildos going on, and all types of things that you can use for your pleasure. But like I said, like Abigail brought up, like I said, definitely make sure that you're including your man in on that process as well, especially if a man is your partner, I guess I put it that way. So with that, I want to say thank you all for tuning in. Everybody have an awesome and great day. Take care, y'all.